It was a summer night, and four friends, Sarah, Mark, Lisa, and Tom, were looking for an exciting adventure. They had grown up in the small town of Pineville, where stories of abandoned campsites and haunted places were always the main topic of conversation on dark nights. One of these stories was about the mysterious Camp Blackwood, located deep in the dense forest surrounding the city. Camp Blackwood was known only to the oldest local residents and was a place of urban legends and scary stories. It was said that the camp was cursed and that terrible things had happened there in the past. Many believed that it was a land infested by evil spirits and that no one who entered there would ever emerge unscathed. However, youthful curiosity and the thrill of adventure were stronger than any warning. The four friends decided that it would be an exciting experience to spend the night at Camp Blackwood and unravel the mysteries that surrounded it. After some research, they managed to find the location on the map, marked by inaccurate GPS coordinates, as almost no one had visited the place for years. It was a trip that would take them to a remote part of the forest, where the road gave way to a narrow, winding path. When they arrived at the camp, the feeling of abandonment and desolation was palpable. The place was enveloped in a sepulchral silence, with the only illumination coming from the twinkling stars in the night sky. Dilapidated log cabins and a moss-covered picnic area made up the bleak landscape, while a long, extinguished campfire stood in the center of the camp as a lonely reminder of times gone by. Despite the sinister atmosphere that surrounded the place, the group set up their tents, lit a fire, and began sharing scary stories to increase the excitement even more. They laughed at themselves, mocking the stories of ghosts and monsters that haunted the locals' conversations. However, as the night wore on, a sense of unrest began to settle in the camp. An icy wind blew through the trees, producing a chilling sound that seemed to whisper ancient secrets. The shadows of the forest came to life, moving like restless entities. The friends felt an inexplicable presence around them, as if they were being watched by invisible eyes. Sarah, the leader of the group and the bravest, tried to divert attention from the oppressive atmosphere, encouraging everyone to relax and believe that the place was nothing more than exaggerated horror stories. Tom, one of the friends, pointed to the fire, suggesting that they cook marshmallows to liven up the atmosphere. They laughed and nodded, hoping the heat from the fire would take away the disturbing sensations they were experiencing. But as the flames crackled and the conversation became more animated, the whispers in the darkness seemed to intensify. The friends exchanged nervous glances, but no one wanted to admit that something was wrong. It was then that, amid the crackling fire and the whispers in the forest, they began to hear something different, something that cut through the air like an icy blade. They were faint whispers, like distant voices trying to communicate with them. At first, everyone thought they were the result of their frightened minds, but the whispers persisted. The four friends looked at each other, their faces pale with fear. Mark, the most skeptical of the group, muttered that it was all just his imagination. Yet the whispers continued, echoing through the dark trees. The night became increasingly unsettling, and the forest seemed to hide dark secrets that they could barely understand. Sarah, the bravest, decided to investigate what was happening. She took out a flashlight and looked at Mark. "I'll check it out." "Who's coming with me?" she asked, hoping her courage would inspire the others to come with her. Mark hesitated but finally agreed to follow her. Together, they entered the dark forest, away from the firelight and the restless shadows of the camp. As they walked, the whispers seemed to guide them, taking them deeper into the darkness. The friends felt as if they were being led by an invisible force. The forest was alive, full of shadows and sinister secrets, waiting to be revealed. Sarah and Mark advanced through the dark forest, following the whispers that echoed like distant murmurs. The icy wind blew through the trees, rustling the leaves and creating a symphony of unsettling sounds. The darkness of the forest was oppressive, but they continued, driven by curiosity and a grim determination to discover the source of the whispers. The whispers seemed to guide them, as if they were being led by an invisible presence. The forest closed in around them, creating a shadowy maze of twisted trees and treacherous shadows. Every step they took them further away from the firelight and comforting sounds of the camp. The friends barely noticed when they arrived at a hidden clearing. In the center of the clearing stood a stone statue, a bizarre and disturbing work of art. The statue represented a female face, with empty eyes and lips parted in an expression of anguish. It was as if the stone itself was screaming a dark secret. Sarah shined her flashlight on the statue, revealing the sculpture's sinister detail. It was covered in moss and had erosion marks that betrayed its advanced age. But what caught their attention the most was the fact that the statue was located in the middle of the forest, as if it had been placed there on purpose. Mark, still cautious, approached the statue and tried to touch it. The rough texture of the stone sent a shiver down his spine, but he couldn't help but notice that the statue was tilted slightly forward, as if it was about to move. It was then that the statue moved, its empty eyes suddenly opening and its stone lips slowly moving. A strange, unintelligible sound escaped the statue's mouth, turning into whispers that mixed with the whispers of the forest. Sarah and Mark, petrified with terror. They couldn't believe what they were witnessing. The statue's whispers seemed to be trying to tell a story that was lost to time. Mark, despite his earlier skepticism, was now convinced that there was something deeply wrong at Camp Blackwood. With hearts racing, they decided to return to camp to tell others what they had seen. As they walked away from the clearing, the whispers became more intense, as if the statue was trying to reach them. Back at camp, Sarah and Mark shared the frightening experience with their friends. Everyone was skeptical at first, but the look of terror on Sarah and Mark's faces convinced them that something sinister was happening in those woods. The night continued, and the whispers in the forest persisted, becoming louder and more disturbing. The group set up a vigil, staying alert and watching the mysterious statue in the clearing. The statue seemed to vibrate with a sinister energy, and its stone eyes shone with a light that had no logical explanation. Fear began to creep into the hearts of the friends, and they realized they were facing something far beyond their understanding. The whispers seemed to be trying to communicate, but the words were unintelligible, like a secret that remained obscure. Lisa, one of the friends, decided to search the abandoned cabins in search of clues that could explain what was happening. While exploring the cabins, she found a dusty diary hidden in a drawer. The diary appeared to belong to a former camp caretaker, and its yellowed pages contained dark secrets that would terrify everyone. Lisa carefully leafed through the diary, the yellowed pages revealing aged handwriting. She read aloud, sharing the terrifying discoveries with her friends. August 8, 1947. This place is cursed. Strange things happen here. Children who come to Camp Blackwood say they hear whispers in the darkness. I can't explain what is happening, but I feel that something terrible lurks in these forests. The friends listened intently, their minds filling with apprehension as Lisa continued reading. August 15, 1947. Children continued to disappear. I see them wandering the forest, as if under some kind of spell. I have tried to warn the others, but they consider me crazy. Something at the heart of this forest is evil. The diary revealed a series of disturbing events, including more reports of missing children and a growing sense of horror hanging over the camp. The caretaker wrote about noises in the forest, shadows that watched him, and the stone statue that seemed to be the epicenter of all evil. As Lisa read, a feeling of dread came over the group. They realized that the history of Camp Blackwood went beyond urban legends, and that something dark truly haunted the place. The statue in the clearing was more than a mere sculpture. She was the manifestation of something terrible. The group decided it was time to confront the statue and unravel the mystery surrounding it. They approached cautiously and stared into the stone figure's empty eyes. The statue remained motionless, but the whispers in the forest intensified, as if trying to stop them from proceeding. Sarah, determined to discover the truth, stepped forward and addressed the statue. "What do you want from us? Why are you haunting us?" The statue did not respond, but the whispers increased in intensity. Sarah realized that they needed to find a way to communicate with the entity that seemed to inhabit the statue. It was then that Mark suggested an idea. He remembered an old story he had heard from his grandmother about rituals for communicating with spirits. He said the rituals involved the recitation of ancient words and mysterious symbols. Sarah, Mark, Lisa, and Tom agreed to try the ritual. They gathered around the statue and began reciting the words from the caretaker's diary. As they spoke, the statue shook and the whispers in the forest quieted down. It seemed like the entity was listening. As the ritual progressed, the statue began to glow with a dim light, and the empty eyes seemed to come to life. The whispers were clearer now, though still unintelligible. Sarah realized that the statue was trying to tell a story that was lost to time. She concentrated, trying to understand the statue's whispered words and gestures. It was then that images began to form in his mind. She saw children playing happily in the camp, a time when the place was not haunted. But as the vision unfolded, she witnessed something terrible. The children were being dragged into the forest, as if they were being drawn by an invisible force. The images became darker. The statue revealed the story of an ancient ritual, a sinister pact that involved offering children to the entity that inhabited the forest. Children were used to fuel the dark power that permeated Camp Blackwood. The group was horrified by the revelation. They had uncovered the truth behind the children's disappearances and the curse that hung over the camp. The caregiver's ritual and the whispers in the darkness were part of a macabre cycle that repeated itself over the years. With the ritual complete and the story revealed, the stone statue stopped whispering. She looked relieved, as if she could finally rest in peace. The group, however, was far from relieved. They now faced a dilemma. What would they do with the knowledge they had acquired? Would it be possible to undo the curse that hung over Camp Blackwood? They knew they would have to take action to prevent the tragedy from happening again. The night was far from over, and the group was determined to face the horror that was yet to come. With the horrifying revelation of Camp Blackwood's past and the completion of the ritual, the group of friends were aware that their journey was far from over. They had solved the mystery that haunted the place, but now they faced the task of preventing the camp's curse from falling upon them. The stone statue in the clearing remained motionless, its dim light fading as the ritual faded. The whispers in the forest had quieted down, but the atmosphere was still thick with tension. Sarah, Mark, Lisa, and Tom gathered around the statue, determined to ensure that the evil entity no longer had power over the camp. They knew they needed to seal the link between the spirit world and Camp Blackwood. Based on the caregiver's journal and what they learned from the ritual, they began to come up with a plan. They would use the symbols and words of the ritual to perform a new act, an act of sealing the evil that had haunted the camp for generations. As the group recited the words of the ritual and drew the symbols in the earth around the statue trembled, as if resisting its fate. The statue's empty eyes glowed one last time before darkening, and the whispers became a distant murmur. It was as if the entity that inhabited the statue was finally being imprisoned. With the ritual complete, the group felt a sense of relief. They had accomplished the seemingly impossible, sealing the evil in the heart of the camp. The stone statue remained motionless, now lifeless, as a silent witness to everything that had happened. The night was almost over, and the group knew they had to leave before dawn brought light. They dismantled camp and left Camp Blackwood behind, but not before promising to return and ensure the curse did not resurface. Upon returning to Pineville, they kept their promise. They researched and consulted with experts in supernatural phenomena to find a way to ensure that Camp Blackwood remained sealed. They learned that the strength of the curse was linked to the blood spilled in the past, and that only an act of atonement could break the cycle. Together, they performed one last act. They returned to camp, found a place where children were believed to have been sacrificed, and performed an atonement ritual to free the children's souls and break the curse. With the atonement ritual completed, the feeling of oppression that hung over Camp Blackwood began to dissipate. The forest regained its calm, and the whispers in the darkness finally quieted down. The story of the abandoned camp and its terrifying statue has become a local legend, a reminder that evil can be contained but never forgotten. Sarah, Mark, Lisa, and Tom have learned that horror can lurk in the shadows, but truth and courage are the keys to facing and sealing it. And so, Camp Blackwood was sealed forever, becoming a place of peace and tranquility where children could play and laugh without fear. The once cursed forest has become a place of serenity, and stories of horror have transformed into tales of courage and redemption. The four friends' journey had come to an end, but the memory of what they faced would remain with them forever. They had faced the unknown, unraveled a dark mystery, and ultimately sealed the evil that haunted Camp Blackwood. Their lives had been transformed by this experience, and they left with the knowledge that evil could be defeated when one had courage and determination. The story of Camp Blackwood would serve as a reminder that even on the darkest nights, the light of friendship and redemption would always shine.